Name a gear set. Any gear set. If we're going off the title of the video, you said the right one. If you went off of anything but the title of the video, there's a super slim chance that you said ongoing directive. And the reason for that is pretty simple. Most people look at it and they're like, okay, just cool, sure. You get 35% damage amplification on just your weapons. Why would I ever want that, considering the sacrifice does the exact same thing, more or less, except I don't have to wear 4 pieces and I can instead do a DPS build. Yes, however, if you enjoy having fun, that's not fun. Wearing a sacrifice is just that. You get one hit and then you have to get revived over and over again. It's not very fun. So instead, here's my solution. Just to put it like slightly and in a real like easy way. Blood for the blood god! I'm not putting that lightly either. This does bleeding. This does bleeding. All of this does bleeding. This does bleeding. That's fire. But more or less, this whole build is meant on just being annoying, I guess is the right way to put it. You get 128 damage, weapon damage on enemies with all of this here, with any gun that you want right here. And it's 148 with the Kingbreaker. You can also additionally run either the Technician or the Survivalist, depending on if you're running solo or a group. If you're running solo, run the Technician. If you're running in a group of 2 or more, run the Survivalist. They each have their pros and cons. The Technician gets an extra skill tier. The Survivalist gets 10% extra damage to status effect enemies for your entire group, plus incendiary grenades, which, I mean, those are fun. A lot of people look at ongoing directive and think, wow, that is nothing. And to be fair, that's exactly what I was thinking the first time I looked at this. 2 years ago. But regardless, the first thing I looked at with this build was, okay, status effects and reload speed on a build set that has red cores by default and is not a skill set. So I was thinking, wow, why would anyone really use this? And that's probably what a lot of people think when they first look at this. I pretty much thought that until about 2 weeks ago, when I just thought to myself, I need a new build. And I want something wacko. I don't want like a DPS build. I don't want to build another Seeker Mine skill build or something even remotely close to what I've done before. So I went with this 4-piece ongoing directive. Keep in mind, I still thought ongoing directive was absolute garbage, but if you set it up right, it's not. So, the whole shtick of this, get a kill on a status affected enemy, you get hollow point ammo for your active weapon. Now, you could be holding any weapon that you want. You could be holding literally any weapon that you want in the entire game, and it'll get that ammo. It doesn't matter if it's a primary weapon or a secondary weapon, you'll get hollow point ammo. You just won't for signature weapons, obviously. Hollow point ammo does 20% bonus damage to enemies that you hit and applies bleed on hit. Now, applying bleed on hit with that 20% extra damage amplification activates Perfectly Wicked, which is another 18% damage for 27 seconds. There is no cooldown that refreshes every time you hit someone, and you have an LMG with 100 bullets in it with the blue screen. We'll get to that part. With the Anarchist's Cookbook, you get the extra 18% on top of the gear set, which gives you 20%, which is then amplified by the chest piece to be 35%, which is now 53% from just the set pieces and the backpack. Then we get to the part with the 5 damage cores, which is another 75%. So now we're up to 128% damage on any weapon that you pick. And then we attach it to the blue screen, which just basically bleeds status effects. I mean, this thing oozes status effects. 1 to 10 stacks pulses someone, 11 to 25 pulses and disrupts them, 26 to 49 pulses, disrupts, and disorients them, and 50 stacks getting a kill pulses, disrupts, disorients, marked targets, and all hostiles within 10 meters of all marked targets for 5 seconds. And there's no limit to how many people you can mark, or from what distance. And there's no cooldown timer or duration timer. It never expires. So you can literally just shoot people up all day, run 3 rooms over and 2 blocks down, go up a staircase, do whatever you want to do. And as soon as you activate a skill, everyone gets disoriented and pulsed and everything. So that's already huge. But then you combo all of that with a Kingbreaker, which gets an extra 20% damage to pulsed enemies. Now we're at 158% damage to targets. Granted, probably for a brief while. We're at 158% damage with no sacrifice, with no Heartbreaker, with no strictly DPS set, per se. Just wow. On top of all of that, you can run the Technician Specialization to get the laser pointer, which you can attach right here, I believe. You get the Link laser pointer, which pulses targets at which it's aimed, which means you just get the damage bonus all the time. And on top of all of that, your 2 bleeding skills also apply status effects, which reactivates Wicked for 10% bonus damage to all of your teammates, as long as they hit something with a status effect. It doesn't even have to be your status effects. And on top of all of that, every single status effect that gets applied activates Vile. Damage dealt is equal to 50% of your concussion grenade damage increased by your status effect attribute. So about 700,000 damage for free for hitting someone once. Like, you can just pop out, hit him with a bleed bullet, and go back into cover. They'll take 700,000 damage by itself. And that gets amplified with status effect attributes. So if you have all of this trained status effects, that goes up. So there's all that. But the key note with this thing is that you have to activate a skill to use it. So the 2 skills that come to mind are the 2 bleeding skills, or at least the main ones. The Shrapnel Trap, which is criminally underrated, as well as the Shock Trap, and the Stinger Hive. This bad boy is going to be the main source of all of your effectiveness in this build, at least somewhat. You cannot use the shield to activate all the stacks. You can get all the stacks you want by shooting at all these guys. You can get all the stacks you want, and it doesn't matter, because if you try to use a shield, it just won't work, for 2 reasons. One, I feel like, is because it's the most free skill to activate and deactivate, because you just whip the thing open and whip the thing back shut. As well as you can't hold an LMG and a shield of any kind. It just won't work. So when you pull the shield out, you swap to your sidearm and then pull the shield out, thus not activating the stats, or the stacks. So, the 2 easiest ways to use your stacks by activating a skill is either with misfiring a chem launcher, which is actually quite easy in big open missions, because you can just shoot the thing into the sky and then it comes back to you after about 3 seconds. That also triggers hardwired. You can do that on big open maps or missions like Roosevelt Island, stuff like that. The other option is the Stinger Hive, which you drop right at your feet and you can pick right back up again. Mark as many people as you want, and then as soon as you feel like you're done, activate that, and all of them are stunned. And once again, I would like to reiterate, that marker right there is never gonna go away. That marker literally will never go away. It does not matter what I do. I could switch weapons. I could switch weapons and toss this thing out. It's not gonna matter. The marker doesn't go away. Only way that marker goes away is if I put down a skill or activate a skill when I have the blue screen out. I can be as far away as I want. I can hit as many people as I want, and it won't matter. It literally will not matter. I can hit as many different targets as I want to, and whenever I feel like it, I can double tap my skill to activate it and apply status effects to all of them. Now, I didn't have enough stacks built up to activate it that time, but you get the idea. Every single target is marked. We have high stacks, and whenever we feel like it, we can do it immediately. We can wait 10 hours. These stacks never go away. There's no duration timer. You can just double tap a button and it will apply all the stacks to all of them. whenever you want from any distance. The other thing you have to keep in mind is that I don't have anything really built into crit chance or damage. I have like exclusively headshot damage because of how these rolls came. So this is not even the max potential of this build, which is what I like to show off. I like to show off when a build isn't as good as it could potentially be, because that inspires someone to go and make it so that they can see its maximum potential. And no, this build is not going to wipe Countdown by itself, so before anyone's like, this doesn't replace my DPS build, it's not supposed to. And it's never supposed to. The goal of this video is not to present you your new Slayer build that's going to absolutely just slaughter any content you could possibly go through the entire game. That's not the point of having multiple builds. The point of having multiple builds is if you want to run this build to have some fun, or if you want to run this build to have some fun. That's why the loadouts, skill build, that's a Bullet King. For obvious reasons. I don't think I have to explain what Bullet King's fun. Headshot chaining builds, melee builds, legendary tank builds, tip of the spear headshotting build, Wi-Fi disease, and then a loadout that is literally named boring DPS. It's a raid build. I don't feel the need to really explain why I don't really like DPS. But this is just kind of get the idea that you're supposed to have a bunch of different builds to use. I am not here to be your main one that you run for literally everything. I'm here to show you one that you might want to run just to have some fun, just randomly, if you decide to use it. Regardless, this build is a lot of fun, but it's not very good on open missions. It's a lot nicer on big corridor-sized maps. So, Air and Space Museum is ideal for this. DUA is ideal for this. If you have a mission really even as open as the bank headquarters, this build gets a little harder to use. Not critically, it's still very fun, but it does get a little trickier due to the open space. As for specializations, I briefly hinted at it earlier, but Survivalist or Technician, do not bother running anything else. If you're solo, run Technician for the extra skill tier, as well as the laser pointer to run on the Kingbreaker. And if you're in a group, run Survivalist so you can have the incendiary grenades and also 10% damage bonus for all of your group members on people with status effects. Doesn't even have to be your status effects either. You can have some random guy hit a poison barrel or a chlorine barrel, and now everyone gets 10% bonus on that. I don't know if it stacks with multiple people have it, but I assume it doesn't, because things like Spotter don't. I hope at least one person goes out and makes this build, because it is quite enjoyable. All my mods are armor on kill, because you're going to be in cover a lot, so why not? Anyways, on with the mission.
here!
Engaging! What's this? Taking too much fire!
We need to figure out what they're doing here.
Secure the area.
Sun's reinforcements incoming.
Keep moving. We need to clear the next hall.
When you're done fucking things up there.
Hostile radio intercepted.
Division's on my 6! So come through the planetarium. We gotta secure that ordnance.
Earth, the third rock from the sun. Our home may not be the center of our universe, but so far, it's the only planet that has stored life as we know it. In the vast reaches of space, it's irrational to think that our little planet is the only place capable of creating and sustaining life. We know that Mars once had vast oceans, that many of the elements found on Earth could only be created in the existence of a supernova. While no other planet in our solar system sustains life, it's possible that the building blocks that allowed organisms to evolve from single-cell amoebas to complex living beings like you and me. Water, as evidenced by these images. At one point, more than 3.8 billion years ago. So 1/3 of the Martian surface could have been covered by ocean. Martian exploratory craft have sent back evidence of more recent water flows as well, ranging from gullies and dry river systems to what appear to be ancient lake beds.
Mechanical components detected.
Agent, have Isaac scan the parts.
Armor's busted! You wanna see what I can do?
Vital signs critical.
That idiot was always gonna get it.
I'm setting a recovery team. Link up with them and you'll be done there.
Components identified. Suggested use. Missile construction.
They must be using a casing from the museum's collection. If they get rigging with a warhead with needs propulsion, they wouldn't even need a guidance system to hit the White House or a settlement.
Kinda goes without saying, but if you see any missiles lying around, make sure they can never, ever be used.
Database patch indicates designation LMR-90.
That would be the missile, then. Please neutralize that fucking thing by any means necessary.
Damn it. The salvage crew just ran into those reinforcements. They need backup.
factory is out of action and they lost a big stockpile of ordnance.
Let me guess, Acosta's go bag? Oh, I didn't know it was chest pieces here. So that's how... Wow, that's a lot of damage. 157.8 million, not negative 1.7 billion. That's not what happened. Damage taken, 2.6 million. On heroic missions, you usually take a ton of damage, but not with this build. I've played this mission way more times than I can count, and this last room is very, very good for a build like this. Even though the civilians might not be much help.
Jesus!
Well, they can be. I've had some missions where I've died and they've killed the last person, so that's always funny.
Jesus!